Bill is such an inspiration that his bariatric surgeon has since had weight loss surgery himself. 404 pounds or 183 kilograms was Bill's weight when he went under the knife for gastric bypass 15 years ago. Today, he maintains his weight at 170 pounds, 77 kilograms, and shares his tried and true strategies that made him successful in his bariatric surgery journey. Don't you go anywhere. You don't want to miss this interview.
Do you know what's in your vitamins? ProCare Health does. Made in the USA, it's certified facilities. Each batch is independently lab tested to ensure purity and potency. Why settle for less when you can have the most affordable, high-quality vitamins delivered to your door? Visit ProCareNow.com. Use code BSS10 to save 10%.
I'm bariatric dietitian Dr. Susan Mitchell. You're listening to the Bariatric Surgery Success podcast. I'm so glad you're here today. Boy, do I have the best guests. It matters where you get your nutrition information. When it comes to bariatric surgery, nutrition is specific. You're in the right place, friend. Let's get started. Joining me in the studio is Bill Streetman. Tall and trim as a young man, Bill spent 35 years as a consultant, don't miss this, traveling up to 200 days a year to clients all across the U.S. During his career, his lifestyle changed from one that produced a 170-pound, 77-kilogram fit individual into a depressed, unmotivated, unhealthy 54-year-old man whose weight was no longer 170 pounds, but now 404 pounds or 183 kilograms. And 2010, Bill underwent gastric bypass. 1 year later, Bill weighed in at 202, half his pre-surgery weight. Within another year, Bill hit his personal goal of 170 pounds, 77 kilograms, and has maintained that weight. He joins me today to share his incredible journey, how he's handled the tough ups and downs, and the tried and true strategies that work for him every single day. Now, don't forget, you can find out all about Bill. His links are in the show notes, and you can find links to his contact information, his website, his book that we'll talk about today, and social media. Well, welcome to the podcast, Bill.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, I'm very glad you are here. You have a fabulous journey to share. And Bill, it's not been without its struggles. So I want to start with and take us back 15 years. How did you settle on weight loss surgery as a tool? Let's start with that. And then specifically R&Y gastric bypass.
Well, after 20, 30 years of gaining 5, 10, 15 pounds a year and approaching it as a quick fix, starve yourself, run a 10 miles a day, lose the weight, get back to that, everything's good. It was obvious that that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. So I kind of put myself through a little bit of a matrix. I figured I knew that you gained weight by calorie surplus. So I'm either eating too many calories or not burning off enough or some combination. And I kind of analyzed do I eat too much, too fast, wrong things, wrong time, wrong reasons? Do I exercise, not exercise because I don't know what to do, I can't physically, or I have other comorbidities that are preventing me? And I kind of analyzed that. And it came down for me that I didn't really have a food trauma. Obviously, at 400 pounds, you eat a lot of food.
Right.
But the concept of addiction to food didn't really resonate with me.
Okay.
But volume did. Mm-hmm. I've always been a guy who was the mostest or the leastest. Well, when it comes to food, I'm eating it. And I had a volume problem. And when I looked at it, I figured something that would limit my ability to consume food at any one moment was actually in line with what my problem was.
Yeah, so that could
And
restrict that volume and make you think about that. I really
exactly.
like the fact that you're saying you did such an personal assessment yourself, that you asked yourself a lot of the really hard questions. How did I get here? What's going on with me? What do I need to
Right.
deal with? Hard questions to make the decision that you did to come up with weight loss surgery.
And those hard questions are, you're going to be asked them one way or the other. I wanted to ask them of myself first,
Yeah.
so I could defend them to anybody else that was doing their job. And of course, I mean, when people say, so you recommend weight loss surgery, I say, not necessarily. If you feel your problem is an emotional connection to food, weight loss surgery is not going to help you.
Right.
Go take care of your spirit and your
Absolutely.
psychology first, and then maybe that also solves your
Yeah.
issue.
And I think that's such a great point, that each person is different. Everyone's not just a cookie cutter for this surgery at this time, but without that self-reflection, you can make a mistake. I agree with that. I think that was great.
I haven't been without night. I didn't say 100% of my problem is volume.
Right.
It was like half my problem, but 20% was still emotional attachment to certain things.
Sure.
And psychological pluses and minuses to my history. So I did deal with those things too, but it was apparent to me that I could deal with those all day long.
Yeah.
If I still ate too much, I would have a problem.
You'd still have the problem. I want to go back to pre-op. What is the most important lesson or insight, you might call it, that you gained, and how did it help you through the years?
When I was considering weight loss surgery, I'm very close to final decision. A friend named Gene, who had been through it before, a couple of years earlier, took me aside and said, Bill, you're going to get a lot of advice. People are going to tell you what to do, what not to do. I'm not going to tell you anything except this. When you're wondering, why did I do this? Or when you're having a bad day, or when it feels like you made a mistake, I want you to walk over in front of a mirror, look at yourself and say, Bill, I did this for you and you're worth it. You will win at this game. And I did that every time and just had to continually repeat to myself that I'm doing this for me. There was a point in time when I sat down, did the calculations, and the unequivocal correct answer was this process. So I'm convinced that this is right for me, that the way to success is through the problem, not around it.
Not around it. You know,
I was worth it.
I end every one of my podcasts with what you just said. You are worth it. I have wrapped my podcast like that since I first started. So I really believe in what you just said, that getting in front of that mirror and looking at yourself and saying, hey, sister, hey, brother, you are worth it, because you are. And that belief and confidence in knowing that you are makes all the difference, I think, in the success, that believing in yourself and the decisions that you've made. So I agree with you.
I think it's, when people ask me, what's the secret? That there is no secret, but there is a mandatory, your brain, your mind has to be in the game.
I think your mind has to be in the game, and it has to be in the game in a positive way, positive self-talk without the negative, because we tend to beat ourselves up. Plus, where I was going to go next is that in addition to beating ourselves up, sometimes you do experience negative feedback, unfortunately. So I'll ask you, have you experienced this negative feedback due to having surgery, and how do you handle it?
I have not, but it might be that I didn't even recognize it.
Okay.
I say that because I am so excited about what I had done for myself. And I'm so sure that I had taken the right steps because of the prep I did, that there's no question in my head. It would be as if you came up to me and tried to tell me I didn't love my son. Like, that can't compute in my head, because I know I love him. I mean, a lifetime of loving my son. So if I hear somebody come up and say something, if they did say something like, oh, easy way out, or
Oh,
all that kind of stuff,
I hate hearing
it
that.
just never hits me as it hits me as an opportunity to educate somebody.
What a good attitude.
And I am so enthusiastic about my lifestyle since this that people don't like. I mean, you would be stepping in front of a runaway train to try to debate me on this. Because
So,
I'm not good at debate. First of all,
but again, it goes back to your belief in yourself. So when someone tries to
absolutely
bring up something negative about why have you done this, unless you know that, hey, this is about me, I'm worth it, I've made the right decision, sometimes you do tend to go, oh gosh, well, like you have to defend yourself. And you know what? You don't have to defend yourself at all. You are worth it. You made the decision you did. And I love the fact that you said you look at it as a time to educate someone, which it really is, because sometimes people truly just don't understand what
right.
bariatric surgery is or what it means. And so when you can take it in that light, I think is great. And so what are some of the most significant questions you do get asked, would you say? Significant or maybe just most common?
I get asked a lot of questions about loose skin. I get asked a lot of questions about how does it affect things like sleep or other aspects of life. I get asked about sex life a lot.
Sure. I would
And
expect that.
like I say, I'm really happy to answer any of those questions.
I can see why someone would say, how's the sleep? What changes with sex? What changes with this? All of these things are things that I think people want to know before they make these decisions, how that's going to affect me. Well, we'll be right back in a second. I've got some more great questions to ask Bill, so don't you go anywhere. Remember to sign up for my weekly newsletter called Breaking Down Nutrition. It's a quick way to keep up on nutrition for your bariatric lifestyle. You'll be the first to know about helpful nutrition tips and recipes, giveaways, product specials, and the latest and upcoming interviews that you don't want to miss, like this one with Bill. Sign up today on my website, breakingdownnutrition.com. And we're back. Bill, describe how you incorporate nutrition, exercise, and physical activity, because you have maintained a weight of 170 for 15 years now, and you are heavy into biking, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. So you have to have a pretty rigorous plan to exercise at the level that you do, be able to incorporate the nutrition that you're going to need to put out for that energy output. Tell me about how you plan that.
Yeah, it's very situational. Obviously, with the small pouch, I have a limit of what I can load into the system at any one time. So if I'm riding a bike and I'm going to be riding 65 miles today, I know that I need 3 times my normal calories. And I know I can only put it in at a kind of a slow pace. So I'll have a day-long plan about, I'm going to wake up at 5 in the morning, even though I'm not riding till 7, I need a couple of hours
Yeah,
to get
absolutely.
enough. And when you take off and start riding, you're burning a lot of calories. So you can't bottom out. So, and you're on a bike, so you can't bring a refrigerator with you.
Yeah, exactly.
But it requires, I like it a lot because while it requires me to do a lot of detailed thinking about how many calories and try to keep ratios of proteins high and not overdo it with bad carbs and stuff. I mean, when you're riding 75 miles a day, there almost are no bad carbs.
No, I was going to say 75 miles a day. Whew, that's a workout. That's an output there.
but you also get in habits then, you don't want to eat the way you rode for a 75-mile ride if you're not riding today or you're only doing 20 miles or something. So it means you got to be kind of detailed, but at the same time, I've learned it over the years that I don't need to sit down, pencil and paper, and plan it out or online as great a detail as I did in the beginning. I think the secret is learn all you can and incorporate it in, because there's times when people would say, how many calories did you have today? I don't know, but I'm positive I ate the right amount in the right proportions for what I wanted to do today. 15 years has taught me that.
Absolutely. And taught you the need for the right mixture of protein and carbs. And as you said, I think you're kind of an analytical type of guy. So in the beginning, you took the time, just like you did the pre-assessment or assessment before surgery, to make sure that you knew this was what was right for you and your life and what was coming. I think you did the same with nutrition. You have learned nutrition. You have learned how to make it work for a bariatric lifestyle, your particular one, which is different from others. And I think that right there, don't you think that's key to how one of the main keys to how you've maintained?
Yeah, it to me, it would be like saying I'm going to college. You go for 4 years, take random classes, and at the end of 4 years, being surprised that you don't have a degree. You didn't apply you weren't applying and building on freshman knowledge, sophomore. You didn't build a library of knowledge for yourself. And so you have a lot of random facts, but no wisdom. Yeah.
Did you work with bariatric dietitians in your surgical program, wherever you were, or afterwards?
I had surgery up in Michigan, but I live in Ohio.
Okay.
I had it because I was up there for 1.5 years starting a new business.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have the program to participate with.
And 15 years ago, we didn't have near as many bariatric dietitians. And of course, we didn't have telehealth and all that we have today that makes having these programs totally different. So that says even more for the diligence that you put in to learn what you needed to learn, because you did not have those resources just right at your fingertips.
Right. I didn't have a bariatric program that I could just go in.
Go into. I love this about you. You were named the 2017 Male Bariathlete of the Year. Yay! And you founded the Tour of Hope, a bike ride that helps to defeat, as you call it, obesity. So tell us about this Tour of Hope bike ride and what led you the passion to start that.
Well, I took up bike riding right after surgery as my form of exercise, kind of because 30 years earlier as a young man, I loved bike riding. So and then being overweight, you can't do it. So I got back into it, and I was going down to a conference in Cary, North Carolina. I put in to be a speaker. They picked me. They had a speaker conference, and I'm on the phone, and I'm riding my bike from Columbus, Ohio down there. And the phone got silent, and I thought, I hope they didn't hear me. And of course they did. So then I was committed to ride my bicycle the 525 miles from Columbus to Cary to be at this conference. And took 10 days, and I did it. And when I got there, it was put to me, you should do this every year as a way to raise money to issue weight loss surgery grants. And I said, I like it. It keeps me in practice. It'll keep me in training, but it's something to look forward to every year. Yeah, let's do it.
I think that's great. When you look back, would you do anything differently? Do you have any regrets?
I have no real regrets. I did have a small band of skin taken off my stomach, but not even to my hip bones, just a little small one. I would have waited on that and done it later because I have some back fat. If I was going to have weight loss, skin surgery, I would tell people, I know you're happy. I know you're excited. You've lost the weight. You want to go out on the beach. You don't like that little flap of skin. I get it. But in addition to losing weight, as you move, your body's going to change size-wise, even if your weight doesn't. You build muscle mass.
Right.
You get less water retention, things like that.
Hold on a little while.
Hold on. Yep, that's my answer there. But the main thing is educate yourself and understand that your surgeon's awesome. The program's awesome. They got great advice. They'll help you out. but ultimately you are the one that's going to do it or not do it. So find your reason why, establish the values that you're going to use to lead a life that will get you to where you want to be,
and stay with it.
To follow it. Yep.
You're involved in the WLSFA. Tell everyone what this is and just a little bit about your role.
Well, the Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America raises money to issue surgery grants for people who have been referred to weight loss surgery by a bariatric surgeon, but don't have the money to self-pay and don't have any insurance coverage. Mm-hmm. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of an access to care program for people who have no other means of this kind of medical care. Back 12, 15 years ago when it started, there were a few conferences, so we raised money by having a conference. Nowadays, there's lots of conferences.
Right, yeah.
And the dollars to go around are. So we're transitioning to find corporate sponsors, things like that, so that we can continue. We've issued 35 surgery grants to date.
Oh, that's to go with that. You've also written a wonderful book called Simple, Not Easy, Escaping the Prison of Obesity. What led you to write that?
I hear a lot of people always talk about how surgery is something that happened to them, or they use words of that instead of understanding surgery is a tool I picked up to go use. And I wanted to show how I used it in my journey, but at the same time, I would be showing my route out, not necessarily your route out. So what I really did was kind of backed up and said, this is how I came up with my plan. And using this outline, you can come up with your plan. It'll be different than mine because you're a different person. But if you use it like I used mine, you should have the same success.
Absolutely. I thought it was so helpful when I was reading your book. Something you said stuck with me. And that was, you said, we often describe a bariatric lifestyle as a lifelong event, but you call it a life-wide event. Would you explain that?
You know, thinking about it as a lifelong journey is almost a kind of statement, because obviously I had permanent surgery, so it'll be in my body as long as I'm alive. But using that tool is not so you don't wake up in the morning. I mean, brushing your teeth is a lifelong activity too, but you do it once in the morning, maybe again at night, and it's done. This is something that you're going to have to brush your teeth multiple times a day, because life-wide means I have to realize I have this situation, this bariatric lifestyle at work, with my family, on vacation, at a wedding reception, when I'm out to lunch with my boss. Every single thing that can happen in life will have an element of what my bariatric lifestyle is going to be affected by.
Every touch point. Every touch point. I really like that. As we wrap up, what would you say is the one tried and true strategy that you want to leave us with today?
I would tell everybody the power of visualization and the power of role playing. I mean, if you're pre-op, go into a restaurant, pretend you had just had surgery. What are you going to order? How are you going to eat it? Eat it that way. Role play it and visualize it. And it will help you, because most of this journey is about reacting to events that are coming at you all nonstop, life-wide. They're coming at you. So it's your reaction that's going to matter most. And you just have to be prepared. Visualize and role play will help you be prepared.
I love that. Role play and visualize, two great tools. Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much for being here on the podcast today.
Thank you very much for all you do in the community.
You are so welcome. I love it.
We
Here's what I
appreciate
want you to do this week. Come in close so you don't miss it. You heard what Bill said. Where are you in your journey? Are you struggling? Not where you want to be? Go back and listen to the podcast several times if you need to. Decide the changes that you want to make. Start with one at a time. Grab a copy of Bill's book. Go through it. Listen to it. Read it. Visualize yourself. Remember, this is a life-wide journey touching every aspect of your life every single day. Why? Because you are worth it.
Bariatric Surgery Success with dietitian Dr. Susan Mitchell is produced and owned by Practicalories, LLC. All rights reserved. Remember, the content provided on this podcast is for information purposes only and doesn't create a patient-provider relationship. It's intended to provide reference material and is not designed to provide medical advice. Please consult your healthcare provider regarding any medical issues you have relating to symptoms, conditions, diseases, diagnosis, treatments, and side effects. Podcast guests express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions which do not necessarily reflect or agree with the host, Dr. Susan Mitchell or Practicalories, LLC.